We do not want war, but if anyone thinks they can intervene, remember that we also have weapons that can reach their territory. This is no joke, and the consequences will be tragic. This is the threatening warning from Russian President Vladimir Putin, directly aimed at NATO countries in the midst of escalating tensions between Russia and the West. This statement is not just empty words. It is backed by long-range missile attacks and Moscow's recent military maneuvers near the Ukrainian border. Faced with these threats, NATO has not stood idle. The world's largest military alliance has swiftly intensified its organizational and deployment plans, aiming to protect regional security and maintain stability for its allies. These plans include the capability to deploy a massive force of up to 800,000 troops, along with hundreds of thousands of military vehicles and equipment, to Eastern Europe in the shortest possible time. Part of this strategy involves establishing land corridors, routes for transporting troops and equipment through European nations, from the Netherlands to Poland, and even further into Ukraine. A key highlight of NATO's plan is its ability to respond quickly to any scenario. Large-scale military exercises, such as the Steadfast Defender 2024 drill involving 90,000 troops from member nations, are being carried out to ensure NATO is ready to address emerging threats. Beyond organizing drills, NATO is also strengthening its military transportation infrastructure, from road and rail systems to strategic seaports in Northern Europe and the Mediterranean. However, the big question is, are these efforts enough to deter Russia's ambitions? And if a full-scale conflict erupts, what kind of future will the world face as Russia repeatedly hints at the use of nuclear weapons? NATO is grappling with a difficult dilemma, boosting its military might to deter aggression while avoiding further provocation from Russia. In this context, actions taken by both sides will not only affect the situation in Ukraine, but may also radically shift the global balance of power. Can NATO member countries, backed by the United States and Europe, maintain unity in the face of looming challenges? Or will the world witness a larger-scale conflict, pushing humanity into unforeseeable dangers? NATO has entered a phase of significant transformation to counter the growing threat from Russia. This is clearly demonstrated by the Steadfast Defender 2024 exercise, one of the largest-scale military drills NATO has conducted since the Cold War. More than just a show of force, it is a comprehensive test of the alliance's defensive capabilities, organization, and rapid response in high-tension scenarios on Europe's eastern flank. Steadfast Defender 2024 is designed on a grand scale, bringing together more than 90,000 troops, 50 warships, 80 fighter jets, and over 1,100 combat vehicles from the 31 NATO member states plus Sweden. This event is not merely a military exercise. It is a clear testament to the close cooperation and coordination among allied forces. The exercise includes multiple complex drills focusing on quickly deploying forces to potential flashpoints, such as Poland, the Baltic states, and the Black Sea region. From practicing amphibious landings, transporting troops through key strategic corridors, to rehearsing air defense against hypothetical Russian attacks, every aspect of modern warfare is meticulously tested. Steadfast Defender 2024 does not stop at improving combat skills. It also carries critical strategic objectives aimed at consolidating NATO's strength and position in a tense geopolitical environment. Some key objectives include: one of the top priorities of the exercise is testing NATO's ability to deploy forces and equipment to frontline areas in the shortest possible time. This includes mobilizing troops from North America and other parts of Europe via strategic road, air, and sea routes. With thousands of soldiers from different countries participating, Steadfast Defender 2024 is an opportunity to assess the level of synchronization and coordination among NATO forces. The realistic combat exercises, especially air defense and amphibious operations, require close cooperation between air, naval, and ground forces, ensuring NATO can respond effectively to any situation. The military transport routes, including major seaports in the Netherlands, Germany, and Italy, as well as railways and highways connecting key areas, have been rigorously tested during the exercise. This is crucial for ensuring NATO can promptly deploy forces to hotspots such as Poland or the Baltic states. The drills in Steadfast Defender 2024 are particularly focused on bolstering defenses on the eastern flank, which directly faces threats from Russia. Advanced air defense systems like Patriot and NASAMS, along with special operations forces, have been deployed to practice scenarios of modern warfare. Protecting the Baltic states, Poland, and areas near Ukraine is a top priority to prevent any invasion from Russia. Steadfast Defender 2024 clearly demonstrates NATO's shift from a passive defense posture to a proactive stance. Against a backdrop of Russia continually applying pressure tactics, from information warfare to threats of nuclear weapon use, NATO is showing its readiness and determination to defend every inch of member territory. This exercise also plays a vital role in solidifying trust among alliance members. Mobilizing on such a large scale is not only a message to Russia, but also NATO's way of affirming that the alliance's unity is the foundation for maintaining peace and stability in Europe. Moreover, Steadfast Defender 2024 serves as a real-world test of NATO's ability to coordinate resources in emergency situations. The success of this exercise hinges not just on completing the drills, but also on demonstrating NATO's capacity to quickly and effectively deploy forces in the face of external threats. Overall, Steadfast Defender 2024 is not merely a military exercise. It is a strong statement that NATO is seriously preparing for every possible scenario. These efforts send a clear message to Moscow that any action against a NATO member country will be met with a decisive response from the entire alliance. At the same time, this preparedness reaffirms that NATO is not only safeguarding its members, but also serving as a key pillar in preserving peace in the region and around the world. To counter the escalating threat from Russia, NATO is focused not only on enhancing its military capabilities, but also on expanding a large-scale military infrastructure to ensure the rapid deployment of forces and equipment to strategic areas in Eastern Europe. The plan to build a military highway across Europe is part of this effort, underscoring NATO's serious preparation for any potential conflict scenario. The concept of a military arterial highway is more than just an ordinary route. It is a strategic infrastructure network stretching across Europe. The plan aims to facilitate the swift movement of troops, equipment, and other military assets from NATO member countries to hotspots like Poland, the Baltic states, and the Black Sea region. A notable aspect of this project is the renovation and upgrading of existing highways, with Germany's A2 motorway serving as a crucial artery. Along this route, NATO has inspected and reinforced 230 bridges to ensure they can bear the heavy loads of tanks and other large military vehicles. Not only does this cut down transportation time, but it also increases flexibility for moving forces to potential flashpoints. Germany, with its central geographic position in Europe, has become a critical link in NATO's plan. The country has been chosen as the primary transit hub, connecting transport routes from Western to Eastern Europe. Germany's modern highway system, combined with major ports such as Hamburg, Bremerhaven, and Rostock, plays a key role in swiftly moving troops and equipment to the front lines. But Germany's role does not stop at providing transportation infrastructure. Through its Defense Command, Germany also coordinates and oversees this network. The command is responsible for managing transport routes, ensuring smooth military movements, and devising contingency plans for unexpected situations like cyber attacks or sabotage of infrastructure. In addition to building up the highway network, NATO has established a system of supply points and bases along these routes to maximize support for force deployments. A total of 1,500 supply points have been set up throughout the network, providing fuel, food, and necessary materials for military convoys along their journey. These bases are not just rest and resupply stations, they also serve as temporary command centers where commanders can adjust plans and coordinate forces. This is especially crucial in modern warfare, where speed and coordination determine the success of any operation. For example, at key locations along the A2 highway, NATO has built fuel depots and ammunition storage facilities to ensure uninterrupted supplies. These bases are equipped with advanced defense systems to protect against potential Russian attacks, ensuring that NATO forces maintain an advantage on the battlefield. Building this arterial highway for military use not only enhances NATO's ability to deploy forces, it also sends a strong signal to Moscow that the alliance is prepared to respond to any provocation. Against the backdrop of Russia continuing to threaten the use of nuclear weapons and ramping up military activities along Europe's borders, these preparations act as a protective shield for the entire region. This infrastructure network also holds great significance for strengthening trust among NATO member states. By sharing responsibility for its construction and maintenance, alliance countries demonstrate solidarity and a shared commitment to defend one another against common threats. Furthermore, the arterial highway serves as a powerful deterrent. The presence of an extensive military infrastructure shows that NATO is focused not only on defense, but also stands ready to launch a rapid and effective counteroffensive if necessary. This helps maintain the balance of power in the region and reduces the risk of a full-scale war. In short, building this arterial highway across Europe is an indispensable part of NATO's strategy to ensure readiness against any threat from Russia. From reinforcing bridges and establishing supply points to using Germany as a strategic transit center, all measures aim toward one ultimate goal: safeguarding peace and stability in Europe. These efforts not only strengthen NATO's defensive capabilities, but also prove that the alliance is always prepared to face any challenge. Amid the growing threat from Russia, NATO has undertaken a series of military readiness measures to protect Eastern Europe and ensure security for its members. However, these efforts are not merely reactions to Moscow's moves. They also stem from three important strategic reasons: logistical challenges, the need for deterrence, and the obsolescence of previous contingency plans. One of the main reasons for NATO's extensive preparations is the logistical challenge of deploying troops and equipment across Europe. The continent's complex terrain, varying infrastructure standards among countries, and different border regulations all make rapid force movement to frontline areas a complicated task. For instance, Eastern Europe's railway systems often are not designed to transport tanks or other heavy military equipment. As a result, NATO must invest in upgrading and standardizing infrastructure across the region. According to an internal report, NATO has inspected and reinforced hundreds of bridges, highways, and seaports, particularly in Germany, Poland, and Romania, which occupy strategic positions for deploying troops to the eastern flank. Additionally, maintaining a large force in key hotspots requires building a complete logistics network, including fuel depots, ammunition stockpiles, and temporary bases. These challenges have driven the alliance to accelerate its preparations not only to counter Russia, but also to ensure that its forces can operate effectively over extended periods. The second reason is the need for deterrence, an important factor in NATO's strategy. The belief that a strong military presence is necessary to prevent Russia from taking aggressive actions has been proven by past events. Since 2014, following Russia's annexation of Crimea, NATO has realized that conventional defense measures are no longer sufficient to counter a bold adversary like Moscow. Currently, with more than 23 NATO members meeting the defense spending target of 2% of GDP, the alliance has significantly increased its military capacity. This figure reflects the clear commitment of member countries to build a modern military force, prepared to tackle any situation. Deterrence goes beyond just deploying forces. It also includes large-scale military exercises. For instance, the Steadfast Defender 2024 operation has mobilized 90,000 troops, along with thousands of combat vehicles, aircraft, and warships, proving NATO's readiness. According to Jan Kalberg, a European policy expert, these actions send a strong message to Moscow that NATO is not only prepared to protect its members, but is also capable of responding forcefully to any aggression by Russia. The final reason for NATO's preparations is the recognition that previous contingency plans are no longer adapted to cope with the threat from Russia. For many years, NATO relied on passive defense strategies, focusing on holding the territory of its member countries. However, with Russia's use of hybrid warfare tactics, from cyber attacks and propaganda to the deployment of irregular forces, NATO has realized that it needs a more flexible and proactive approach. Moreover, changes in military technology have also forced NATO to adjust its strategy. Modern weapon systems such as hypersonic missiles, drones, and electronic warfare technologies have created a completely different battlefield. Older plans, which focused on conventional warfare, are no longer sufficient to address emerging threats. To tackle this problem, NATO has launched initiatives to modernize its forces, from upgrading air defense systems, enhancing cyber capabilities, to training soldiers in modern tactics. These reforms not only improve defensive capabilities, but also help NATO maintain a strategic advantage over Russia. In conclusion, the three main reasons, logistical challenges, the need for deterrence, and the obsolescence of previous contingency plans, have driven NATO to undertake a wide range of extensive preparation measures. These efforts not only allow the alliance to better counter the threat from Russia, but also strengthen NATO's position in safeguarding peace and stability in Europe. With strategic steps and strong commitments from member countries, NATO is ready for any scenario, whether to deter or respond to a potential conflict. A war between NATO and Russia, if it occurs, would not just be a military conflict. It would have severe consequences in all areas: military, political, economic, and humanitarian. Given the current military preparedness of both sides, along with the presence of vast nuclear arsenals, a war scenario could quickly spiral out of control, leading to global repercussions. To understand this better, we need to analyze NATO's strategic advantages, the challenges posed by Russia's nuclear arsenal, the role of Russia's allies, and the potential war scenarios. NATO holds several important strategic advantages based on the coordination of 31 member countries with superior military, economic, and logistical resources. NATO's forces include over 3.5 million active duty personnel, including troops from the US, UK, France, Germany, and many other countries. Furthermore, NATO maintains a strong logistical network with the ability to rapidly deploy troops and equipment across Europe due to infrastructure like the arterial highway being constructed. The ability to coordinate among multinational forces is also a significant asset. Through large-scale military drills like Steadfast Defender 2024, NATO has demonstrated its ability to respond swiftly to any situation, while sending a strong message to Russia that any act of aggression will have severe consequences. In the event of war, NATO can deploy forces from various regions to combat Russia, while leveraging its technological and economic strengths to sustain a prolonged war effort. Cho 19 GA. The second reason is the need for deterrence, a crucial element in NATO's strategy. The belief that a strong military presence is required to prevent Russia from carrying out acts of aggression has been borne out by numerous past events. Since 2014, following Russia's annexation of Crimea, NATO has recognized that conventional defensive measures are no longer sufficient to counter an assertive adversary like Moscow. Today, with over 23 NATO members meeting the defense spending target of 2% of GDP, the alliance has significantly boosted its military capabilities. This figure demonstrates member states' clear commitment to building a modern military force prepared for any eventuality. Deterrence extends beyond simple troop deployments to include large-scale military exercises. For instance, Operation Steadfast Defender 2024 mobilized as many as 90,000 troops, along with thousands of combat vehicles, aircraft, and warships, evidence of NATO's readiness. According to John Kalberg, a European policy expert, these activities send a strong message to Moscow that NATO is not only ready to defend its members, but is also capable of responding to any act of aggression by Russia. The final reason behind NATO's preparations is the realization that previous contingency plans are no longer adequate for facing the Russian threat. For years, NATO relied on passive defensive strategies, focusing on safeguarding the territories of member states. However, with Russia employing hybrid warfare tactics, including cyber attacks, propaganda, and irregular forces, NATO has come to understand the necessity of a more flexible and proactive approach. Additionally, advances in military technology have compelled NATO to adjust its strategy. Modern weapon systems, such as hypersonic missiles, drones, and electronic warfare, have created an entirely new battlefield environment. Old plans, primarily geared toward conventional warfare, no longer suffice in confronting these emerging threats. To address this, NATO has implemented initiatives to modernize its forces, from upgrading air defense systems and strengthening cyber capabilities to training soldiers in modern tactics. These reforms not only improve defensive measures, but also help NATO maintain a strategic advantage over Russia. In summary, three main factors: logistical challenges, the need for deterrence, and the obsolescence of older response plans, have driven NATO to undertake a series of extensive preparatory measures. These efforts not only enhance the alliance's effectiveness in countering Russia, but also reinforce NATO's role in safeguarding peace and stability in Europe. Through strategic steps and robust commitments from member countries, NATO is prepared for any circumstance, whether deterring or responding to a potential conflict. A war between NATO and Russia, if it were to happen, would not be merely a straightforward military confrontation. It would carry grave repercussions for military, political, economic, and humanitarian sectors worldwide. Given the current level of military preparedness on both sides and the existence of huge nuclear arsenals, such a conflict could swiftly spiral out of control and have global consequences. To examine this more thoroughly, we must consider NATO's strategic advantages, the challenge posed by Russia's nuclear arsenal, the role of Russia's allies, and various potential war scenarios. NATO holds several important strategic advantages, largely derived from the cooperation of its 31 member nations and their substantial military, economic, and logistical resources. The alliance has more than 3.5 million active duty personnel, including forces from the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, and numerous other countries. Additionally, NATO maintains a robust logistics network, capable of rapidly deploying troops and equipment across Europe, supported by infrastructure such as the burgeoning arterial highway. The capacity for coordination among multinational forces is another key advantage. Through large-scale military drills like Steadfast Defender 2024, NATO has demonstrated an ability to respond swiftly to any circumstance while conveying a firm warning to Russia that any act of aggression would come with a steep price. In the event of war, NATO could field forces from multiple regions against Russia, leveraging its economic and technological superiority to sustain a prolonged conflict. However, NATO faces a severe challenge: Russia's massive nuclear arsenal. Possessing 5,580 nuclear warheads, Russia is not only the country with the world's largest nuclear stockpile, but also an adversary ready to use these weapons as a strategic deterrent. Russian President Vladimir Putin has repeatedly threatened the use of nuclear weapons to defend national interests, further intensifying the situation. Although NATO, primarily through the United States, also holds a comparable arsenal of around 5,244 nuclear warheads, the alliance must exercise extreme caution regarding the possibility of nuclear war. Such a conflict could lead to the destruction of human civilization, causing millions of deaths and inflicting irreparable environmental and economic damage for centuries. Moreover, non-conventional warfare, such as large-scale cyber attacks or the use of chemical and biological weapons, also poses a threat that NATO must take into account. Another critical factor to consider is the role of Russia's potential allies in the event of war. Countries like Belarus, Iran, North Korea, and even China may participate or offer support to Russia in various ways, from supplying weapons and intelligence to deploying military forces. Belarus, due to its geographic proximity to NATO's eastern flank, could become a strategic base for Russia to attack the Baltic nations or Poland. Meanwhile, Iran and North Korea, both of which have cooperated with Russia on weapons and technology, could ratchet up the pressure on NATO by expanding the conflict into the Middle East or East Asia. China, while less likely to intervene directly, may assist Russia economically and politically, weakening the West's ability to respond. Should Russia's allies become involved, the conflict could quickly escalate into a global war, threatening peace and stability in various regions. This development would not only increase the human toll, but also complicate diplomatic efforts to end the conflict. Several potential war scenarios could unfold if NATO and Russia were to clash. In the case of a conventional war, both sides would rely on traditional military forces to gain control over strategic areas in Eastern Europe. This scenario could lead to a prolonged conflict, with heavy casualties on both sides, but without the use of nuclear weapons. Here, NATO might hold an advantage thanks to its stronger military forces and superior logistical capabilities. However, the most dangerous scenario is nuclear war. If either side feels gravely threatened, it could resort to tactical nuclear weapons to gain a battlefield edge. Such an act would likely trigger uncontrolled escalation with unpredictable global repercussions. Experts agree that even a limited nuclear attack could result in millions of casualties and the collapse of the global economic system. Additionally, non-conventional scenarios, such as large-scale cyber attacks targeting Western financial and energy systems, are also plausible. Russia has already demonstrated its capabilities in this sphere with previous cyber attacks. and in the event of open conflict, NATO's critical infrastructure would undoubtedly become a prime target. With extensive preparations in military, logistical, and diplomatic spheres, NATO has shown its readiness to confront any threat from Russia. From large-scale exercises like Steadfast Defender to constructing arterial infrastructure across Europe, the alliance has not only bolstered its rapid response capabilities, but also reinforced unity among its member states. Germany, as a key transit hub, has exemplified how close collaboration among NATO countries is essential for ensuring the alliance's overall strength. Yet, a significant question remains. Are these comprehensive plans and preparations sufficiently effective to deter Russia, prevent conflict, and maintain long-term peace? As tensions continue to rise, NATO's cohesion and resolve will be crucial to determining the future security of Europe and the wider world. What do you think about the likelihood of these plans succeeding? Has NATO truly prepared for every possible scenario? Share your thoughts below in the comments. Thank you for watching the entire video, and be sure to catch the next installment tomorrow.